How's everyone doing tonight? Looking forward to a little Scooby-Doo. Well, I decided to do a little bonus along with tonight's playthrough. Before I even got really into doing any kind of board games, I, just for the fun of it, was a Monopoly collector. Liked all of the different themed versions of Monopoly they were coming out with. So I collected quite a few of them that were themed after different 80s cartoons and pop culture-y type things. So I thought we'd look at various Monopolies just as a little bonus part of the stream to see what some of those sets from a little while back looked like. And hey, because it's a Scooby-Doo theme, I thought maybe we could start today by taking a look at the Scooby-Doo version of Monopoly. Because what's a good cartoon Monopoly collection without Scooby-Doo? So this one was from that time period where, like, most everything was getting a version of Monopoly released. And it's pretty freaking cool because most of these had additional rules that weren't in regular Monopoly that suited the game world that it was representing. So, like this one, instead of chance and community chess, has zoinks and rut-rows. And then the vehicles, instead of railroads, are things like the railroad car, a boat, a bicycle, a mystery machine. And then all of the famous locations from the game represented around the board. But we all know what really brings people to Monopoly, and that is the pieces, right? So for this particular version, what a mess. For this particular version, they released 6 different little Monopoly tokens. So let's take a quick look at those, because that's the really cool part. We got a mystery machine, a Daphne, a Fred, a Velma, a Shaggy, and of course a Scooby-Doo. And I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, these little figures are the main reason I bought these games too, because even if I don't ever play 17 different versions of Monopoly, at some point I may just put out a display of all of the cool little pieces that came with them. But yeah, just a little bonus display to go with the stream tonight. Thought it was thematically appropriate. But we all know what everyone's really here for, and that's an actual bit of Scooby-Doo. So this is the Scooby-Doo board game from CMON Games, which some of you may remember from Marvel United. They were the ones who made that game. It is described as being 1 to 5 players for ages 10 and up, with a playtime of about 30 minutes. So not an overly long game, and based on what I've read and gone through, not an overly complicated game either. But one thing that I did notice reading through the rules, and Slinky, I think you'll especially like this, is that it's very reminiscent of Horrified. So it very much made me think of the rules and playstyle for Horrified. So that's what I'm expecting here, is something a little like that. But let's crack it open and take a look at what's inside. Starting out, we've got an instruction book that's nowhere near as thick as some of the others we've seen in the past. So this one's actually only 8 pages long. So that should be an indicator of how difficult the game is to learn. Well, that's good, Jackie. You guys could grab this one then and play it if it seems similar enough to you. Oh, Luffy found something to bark at. We have a game board, which right off the bat, y'all may find somewhat reminiscent of Horrified as well, if I can manage to open it. So you see, just like Horrified, it's got several locations around it. Each location has specific actions associated with it. So definitely some things that caught my attention right away. I guess, yeah. He's not very Scooby looking though. We have several tokens here. So the tokens are for things like visitors. So visitors occupy locations based on these 3 circles at each around the board. And one of the loss conditions is that the monsters scare away all of the visitors and therefore lead to at least 3 locations becoming haunted. So that's one loss condition. Another loss condition is that you have to do an action that requires the use of a monster token, but there are no more available to use. And the third loss condition is that you need to draw more Scooby Gang cards, but there are no more in the draw pile for you to use. So that's 3 different conditions. We have a couple of haunted location tokens, so those get set aside for now. We've got several varieties of cards. These are our character cards, and those include our 3 monsters that we'll have to choose from for this game. We've got a Scooby Gang deck that's going to be shuffled up a little bit and put up here in the corner of the board as our draw deck. We have a monster deck, which is also going to be shuffled up and placed on the board in the monster deck area. And then we have our traps. And that's how you win this game, is by building all of the traps that have been set up and fully completing their cards. So by doing so, you officially trap the ghost. The game's got a built-in mechanic for difficulty levels. They come in two different flavors. The first is here with the trap cards. The Scooby snacks on them indicate the difficulty level of each, with more Scooby snacks indicating a harder trap to complete, mostly because they require more components. So, being new to the game, I'm going to go ahead and start with the 1 Scooby snack traps. We also have some monster tokens, monster movement tokens, which are used for plotting out a path if you want to decide which direction your monsters are going to take, but are not completely necessary for the game. So I probably won't use those for this one. We have the monster tokens themselves. These are another difficulty mechanic, because like I said, if you run out of monster tokens when you're instructed to use one, and there's not any available, that becomes a loss condition. So here in the monster, the difficulty primer, you get a choice between 4 monster tokens for difficult or 6 monster tokens for an easy game. So the more monster tokens you have, the more time it's going to take to run out of them. So those go down here. Again, because I'm doing easy, we'll use all 6. Besides, with easy and a game that doesn't require any die rolling, I might actually win tonight. That would be nice. We have 2 other tokens here, which are sandwich tokens, and these are used to mark the special abilities on each character's card. Each of them has a special ability that can be used 1 time per game, and the sandwiches go up in the corner. Hey 10, how's it going? So sandwich being displayed means that the special ability is active. Sandwich being flipped over means that the special ability has been used for that playthrough. And then lastly, for those tokens, we have the Mystery Machine card, and to go with it, we have 3 gas tokens. So each time you use the Mystery Machine to transport yourself or other characters, because the Mystery Machine can hold up to 2 members of the Scooby Gang at a time, then you use one of those gas tokens. So it's a limited resource. Lastly, we have our component tokens, which are what we're going to be using to build the traps. So there are 4 different types of component tokens. Most of them will be awarded through various locations. So just set those aside over here till we need them. And then, as the most important piece of the game, we have the miniatures. First off, little cardboard mystery machine here. The mystery machine is a special mechanic in the game because you can never have 2 members of the Scooby Gang occupying the same space unless the mystery machine is on it. The mystery machine has room to hold 2 characters. So that starts out here at the castle. And then we've got our various miniatures that I showed last time, but we'll take another look at them because well, they're fun. So here we've got Shaggy. Focus. I need to find a better camera solution. Sorry, everybody. I'd trick the depth of field. Nope, not going to do it tonight, aren't you? Oh, there. Had it for a second. Let's see. Maybe it just didn't like Shaggy first. Let's try a brighter color. Here we've got Velma. That's pretty good. We have Daphne. Freddy. Shaggy. And of course, Scooby. I can't help but notice the game has no Scrappy or Flim Flam. So, good on the designers for that one. And then we've got our three monsters in the form of the Ghost Clown, the Green Ghost, and my personal favorite, the Creeper. So for each game, you'll be choosing one of the three of them to go up against. The instructions say you can do so randomly, or you can pick one. And I'm going to go ahead and pick my own tonight. It's going to be the Creeper, because I like the Creeper. So there is our selected monster for the game. Nope, Daphne's just in her normal mini skirt and tights outfit. So none of this modern era stuff going on anywhere. So normally in a multiplayer version of the game, everybody would select their own member of the Scooby Gang. I don't know, something like that. I have no idea about women's fashion. Well, I think this is a vintage Scooby-Doo Where Are You era, so none of that even 80s fancy stuff. The difference in the solo game, though, is instead of choosing which character I want to play, you very specifically play as Shaggy and Scooby, with Scooby taking on the role of sidekick, essentially. So, I will go ahead and put those here. They each have starting locations listed on them. So, Scooby starts at the general store, and Shaggy starts at the malt shop. So, general store is right here. That's the only spot on the board that can accommodate two characters because it's where the trap crafting is done. So you have to go to the general store to be able to craft your traps. Yeah, exactly, they split up into their normal teams. So the 1986 13 Ghosts, I think it was 86, right? The one that was narrated and had special appearances by Vincent Price. Okay, so Shaggy starts in the malt shop. And the creeper starts. Place one monster token on each dash border. The creeper crosses during its movement. There can only be one monster token per border. Well, I don't know where the creeper starts. Maybe it's indicated on the board itself. But I thought it said, oh, monster starts here. Okay, monster starts in the witch's shack. I thought they each had their own starting location, but nope, all the monsters start in the witch's shack. And then the last thing we need to do is deal out our number of trap cards that we're going to be playing with. And in this case, again, for difficulty purposes, 1 to 3 players play 4 traps, and 4 to 5 players play 5 traps. So here are my 1 Scooby Snack trap cards. I'm going to shuffle them up and deal out 4 of them that we'll be trying to complete tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so we have an assortment of 4-item traps and a single 3-item trap, and that's what we'll be building as we go. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole setup for the game. In the solo mode, we'll be taking 2 turns each round. So for every round, we'll draw 3 cards from the Scooby Gang deck. And when we do, one of those cards gets put into the save pile. So you choose 2 cards you're going to hold on to as your actions for that turn. And the other one goes into the save pile. The save pile are the cards that get recycled back in when you run out of new cards to draw from the Scooby Gang deck. But the spent cards go in the discard pile. So it is a diminishing resource. You're not always going to have an endless supply, and running out of them is a lost condition. Whereas the monsters get to reshuffle all of their cards whenever they run out. So yeah. So another way that you're going to see it's similar to Horrified is that the monster cards are going to have directions and number of spaces to move. So all the monster actions are going to be dictated by the monster cards you draw. Unlike Horrified, they don't have specific win criteria for each monster. It's standard win criteria of completing the... I know, it's pretty cool, right? It's got a 60s art style to it too. I'll put it up for a closer view at the end of the game, but yeah, there's a nice 60s style to the art, kind of that washed out fuzzy style. And when you look closely, you can see show details also, like in the amusement park here. The 3 buildings down in the corner are the 3 from the intro where they're getting chased by the mechanical ghost. So the creeper has a special ability. He can place 1 monster token on each dash border he crosses during his movement. So he's got an ability that allows him to expend the monster tokens even more quickly than normal. And borders with monster tokens are blocked and Scooby Gang members can't cross them. So if all the Scooby Gang get blocked off and stuck, then it's another game over condition. So that's what the creeper does. Whereas Shaggy and Scooby, Shaggy's ability is Wacky Spirit. He may take any 2 resources from other Scooby Gang members and place them on any trap cards. And Scooby has Scooby Snack. The monster doesn't move or trigger abilities during their next activation, but is still able to fright. Keep the revealed monster card face up on top of the monster deck for their next turn. So, Fright is a mechanic in the game where if the monster occupies the same position as one of the Scooby Gang, they become frightened, and that's mechanically implemented by burning off the first top 2 cards from the Scooby Gang deck. So in a lot of ways, card management is the key here. With Scooby, unlike the regular actions of drawing each turn and implementing a move, Scooby gets 3 cards. And these are his only 3 cards for the entire game. And they can be played at the player's discretion. So Scooby's really limited to... That would be awesome. A pup named Scooby-Doo version I would get that immediately. Or even an expansion. You just swap out the characters with pup named Scooby-Doo versions of themselves. But yeah, Scooby's limited in what he can do for this game. So basically, you're mostly playing as Shaggy in the solo mode. You just have Scooby there to supplement if you need him for some backup at any point. Now the cards are made up of a few different components. The first, that big number, is the initiative, and whatever character has the lowest number goes first, and then the turn order goes in increasing numbers after that. And then we have a movement value, so 0 to 2 spaces is how many the character that draws this card is able to move. And then some cards will have special abilities on them also. So another way to increase the mechanical complexities of the game. And the monster cards are similar with the initiative number. And then instead of just a move value that's open-ended, they have that colored arrow also. And there are different colored arrows around the board. The monsters will use the colored arrows to dictate what path they follow. So whatever space the monster lands on at the end of their turn loses a visitor token and gains a monster token. But you can't have more than 1 monster token per space. So having a monster token and losing all of your visitor tokens is how the space gets haunted. You can also clear a haunted space by doing a clear action with one of your characters, which requires you to burn the top 2 cards from your Scooby Gang draw deck as well. So that's kind of the mechanics of it. And we're going to start out by drawing 3 Scooby cards, choosing which 2 we want to start the game with, and putting the 3rd one in the save card. I will save this one because it is talks about restoring visitors. So we haven't lost any visitors yet. That one might come in a little more useful later, so I'll put it in the save deck so we can reshuffle it when we get to the bottom of the deck. So now we've got 2 action cards for Shaggy's 2 turns, and then we draw the monster card, and we put them in order by initiative. So monster first, then Shaggy again. So to start out, the monster, Mr. Creeper, goes 2 spaces in the green direction. So he's going to follow the green arrows, 2 spaces, which puts him on Shaggy space. Normally, that would frighten him, but this card has a special ability that says for this round you are not affected by fright. So fortunately, Shaggy's immune. So now it's Shaggy's turn. And basically, just like in Horrified, when you want to collect components so that you can meet the various win criteria of the different monsters on the board, I want to go ahead and start collecting things that I can use to work on completing trap cards. So each different location has a different location action that you activate when you land on it, and doing so will give you different rewards that you can put toward creating your traps. The other thing to note is that the Mystery Machine is a free action. Moving it doesn't require any cards or anything, and it can move from whatever spot it's on to any other spot on the board. But like I said earlier, it does cost a gas token, and you've only got 3 of those. So, for Shaggy's first move, because he can go 3 spaces, you don't have to go the 3 spaces, obviously. That's why it says 0 to 3. We can move pretty much wherever we want. There are 2 different conditions at each location that you can go ahead and use. One of them will give you a larger number of components. The other one generally restores visitors or reduces monster actions, that sort of thing. Because the monsters, oops, I forgot that. The indicator of the eyes down here is for the monster to use their special ability. So the Creeper's monster ability is, again, putting tokens on dotted lines that he crosses. So he crossed this dotted line at the airfield. So we place a monster token on that one. Alright, so now Shaggy gets to move up to 3 spaces. We have a lot of options for what we need on our different traps. So I will go ahead and move 1 space and take 2 stick tokens, and then for his second turn I'll move 1, 2, 3 spaces and take 3 net tokens. And we won't use Scooby at all this turn. So already I have enough cards to complete one of the traps. So it would behoove me on this next turn to work my way up to the general store to start crafting that. So monsters get a discard pile. The 2 cards we used go in the discard pile and will not shuffle back into the Scooby Gang deck at the end of once it's burned through all the cards in it already. So now we go straight into round 2. Again, draw 3 cards, discard 1 of them. Okay, so I will save that one. I have a 28 and a 29 for initiative, and the monster gets a 15. And instructions to move 3 spaces in the blue direction. So 1, 2, 3 spaces in the blue direction. Oh, you know what? I forgot to remove a visitor and place a monster token when he landed at the malt shop the first time. So now he's back at the witch's shack, which also has visitors. So we'll remove one of those and place a monster token there as well. So I already have 3 monster tokens played on the board. So you can imagine how difficult it is to, play with fewer monster tokens. Imagine that would be kind of painful, but I don't know. Maybe we'll try a single player playing as a multiplayer for another playthrough at some point, because I don't see why that can't be a thing too. You can play with the whole Scooby gang, right? So anyway, Shaggy goes next. He gets to move 2 spaces. The Scooby gang always moves on green arrows. They can't cross any of the red borders on the board, so they will only follow along the green arrows. So I will go ahead and move 1 space here to Vasquez Castle. I have the options here of drawing a net and a stick, or a net and a shirt. I already have enough sticks to complete all of the traps that we have cards for, so I will go ahead and grab a net and a shirt for this one. And if taking resources, you may take 1 additional resource of the same kind provided by the location. So when it says kinds, I assume that if the location grants you multiple resources, then you take 1 additional of each. So I will take another shirt and net. And for Shaggy's second turn, he gets to move an additional 3 spaces. So I will go 1, 1, 2, 3 to the fun land and take 2 sticks from there. And that's the end of round 2. So I see how this is a nice quick game, because once you get into it, drawing cards, playing cards, it takes no time at all. You just burn straight through a turn. So it is a nice quick game, and still has enough strategy to it to make it interesting. So on this turn, we will go ahead and choose these 2 cards for Shaggy and draw a monster card. Alright, so initiatives this turn are 9 and 32 for Shaggy and 41 for the monster. So Shaggy gets to go first. The top card has a special ability of, if I'm restoring visitor tokens, being able to restore 1 additional visitor token, but I don't really think I care. Instead, we'll move 2 spaces, because this first card, which has a glare on it, is a 0 to 2 space movement card. So I'll use that to go 1, 2, then use my action to build a trap, which I have enough nets and sticks to build this trap here. In a multiplayer game, you can only build 1 trap at a time, and you have to finish a trap before you can start on the next one. In the single player game, the solo mode, you can work on multiple traps simultaneously. So that's another way that it kind of makes solo somewhat easier for players. So this trap's complete. Let's see, what else do I have for components? Oh, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so I can complete a second trap while I'm here. Building traps is a free action, so you can keep building as long as you want. And then I have one other net, so we'll just start on a third trap here. So there you go. First turn done. Second turn is a 0 to 3 move. So I'll take Shaggy and move him 1, 2, 3 back to the castle. I need another shirt, so I'll use the shirt and net choices again. And now it's the creeper's turn. So the creeper has 4 movement along the blue path and reshuffle the discard pile into the monster deck. So creeper will go along the blue path. 1, 2, 3, 4 in a big circle to end right where he started, which chases off another visitor from the witch's shack. And then we'll reshuffle the monster discard back into the monster draw pile. So what do you think, Slinky and Jackie? Was I right in my description of it being somewhat reminiscent of Horrified? Which is absolutely a good thing, because I love Horrified. Unfortunately, there's no single player. Actually, I could do a single player Horrified, couldn't I? Just be multiple players all by myself. In that regard, every board game is a single player game. I don't have the Greek one yet. Did you ever pick up the Greek Monsters one, Slinky? Hey, I mean, really, right? I have another game that is similar to the idea behind Horrified that I hadn't thought about putting on stream because it doesn't have a solo mode, but it's one that's all about American cryptids. It's called something like The Hidden Truth or The Real Truth. And now that I'm going to go ahead and just be multiple players all by my lonesome, I have a new candidate, and we'll go ahead and look at that one on a future stream. I like this. It means no restrictions. So, and we get to compare the solo mode to the multiplayer mode by doing it that way. So we can play a solo mode one stream and do a multiplayer mode, single player multiplayer mode for the next one. But yeah, I like that. That'll work a lot. It'll be fun. So anyway, let's move on with the next turn. 3 cards for Shaggy. What are we going to discard here? Don't really care about that one. We'll put that in the save pile. And a monster card. Ooh, Creeper's moving fast on this turn. He's got a 2 for initiative. And Shaggy's got a 32 and a 37. So the Creeper's going to be moving 2 spaces on the red track. So 1, 2, and that means Scooby is panicked. Or frightened, I mean. So remember, the mechanic for instituting frightened is to burn 2 cards off of the Scooby Gang draw pile. And then we also have a Creeper special ability on this turn. So we put another monster token here across the path he just went over. Ooh, wait. You know what? I'm going to say that even with the turn here, that just a single dotted line. I think it's the dice, honestly. Were there dice in Marvel United? I don't remember. My memory is terrible, but I mean, you know me, anything with a dice roll is probably not going to go well. You should have seen it on Saturday 10. I had like 3 turns in a row where I rolled nothing but misses with Snake Eyes. Not a single hit. It was amazing. I've been bad about putting the streams up as VODs on the second channel, but I'm going to get that backlog put up here soon. I've been busy and occupied with all the new job stuff and everything, so yeah. Excuses, right? That's the same reason you haven't seen the next deep dive, but I have a set schedule written out, and that's what I'm going to be following once I'm on my regular core hours for this new job, because the new job has some night and weekend hours required too, so I have to be much more stringent with my schedule, and that'll probably work out best for me in the long run. But that's where we are on that. Oh, that's no good. Set schedules, well, sometimes set schedules are great. Other times, they just make you rail against them, right? So, I don't know. Guess it depends on the mood on any given day. Alright, so I need wrenches. I need several wrenches for some of the traps we have. So Shaggy's first move is 0 to 3 spaces. I will go 1, 2 spaces, activate location to take a wrench. And the last move for Shaggy is a 0 to 4 space move. So I will go 1, 2, 3, 4. That one says, well, it's got a multicolored symbol on it. So I guess that means one of whatever I want, or 2 wrenches. So I'll take the 2 wrenches. And then well, I was going to use his special ability to give them to Scooby, but I can't use that ability to give anybody anything. I can only use it to take from other people. So I guess not on this turn. But I will go ahead and use Scooby to get the last piece that I need for the final trap, which is another net, by playing a 0 to 2 movement card and putting him right here to gain 3 nets. Which means, knock on wood, barring any complications, I might have this one next turn. So that would be cool. Yeah, I probably jinxed that, didn't I? Alright, well, 3 cards for Shaggy. 1 card, oops, gotta get rid of one of these first. 1 card for Yonder Monster. Initiatives are 10, 40, and 40. Oh, look at that. That works out really well because both of my characters, both of my cards here go first. And because I'm moving Scooby again this turn, I'll use this one, which has an initiative of 24, which means everybody goes before the creeper does. So we'll go Shaggy first, 3 movement spaces. Oh, Oh, that's right. I have to go in the direction of the green arrows, right? 1, 2, 3 spaces. So because I don't need any more resources, I will go ahead and use the other bonus on the Witch's Shack, which is to remove 2 monster tokens. So I'll remove these 2 to put them back in the pool. Alright, so now it's Scooby's turn to go 0 to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this space can either give 2 sticks or remove 1 monster token and replace 2 visitor tokens. So I'll remove 1 monster token and replace 2 visitor tokens just because. I guess I'm not going to quite win on this turn because I forgot I had to move with the arrows, but close. So lastly, Shaggy can go 0 to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, which allows me to finish off this trap. And start on. Oh wait. Free action. I can use Shaggy's special ability once per game to take any 2 resources from other Scooby Gang members and place them on any trap cards, which means that last one I need that Scooby's carrying, I can go ahead and use my special ability to take that one and complete the final trap card, which means woohoo! Mystery Inc. has won. We have captured the creeper without Fred. So I don't know who came up with those traps, but yeah, Shaggy and Scooby all by themselves captured the creeper. So successful playthrough. And I would say that the adjustable difficulty that made it easier in some ways made it almost too easy. I mean, we got a little close with how many of the monster tokens the creeper had placed, but all in all it was fairly easy to accomplish what we needed to do in the game. So I think that we could go a little further toward the high end of difficulty to add a little more challenge to it. But overall, that was my only real complaint. Everything else was great. I really enjoyed it. And I also realized that I could have finished the game even earlier because I never once used the mystery machine, but I passed through the space that it was on. I could have, instead of using multiple cards to get Shaggy back up to the workshop or the general store, could have used the mystery machine and gone straight there. So a couple of mechanical things that were my fault for not remembering, but yeah, I see a lot of opportunity to do even more with this game. You know, the rules don't cover it, but if you were to do a game with all 5 members of the Scooby Gang, then why couldn't you use multiple monsters? If each Scooby Gang member got 1 card every turn, because in the multiplayer game, they draw 2 cards and place 1 in the save deck. I was hoping it was the Harlem Globetrotters 10. That would have been my preference. But yeah, that'd be cool if I try the multiplayer single player experience later to use multiple monsters. I think that would make it slightly more interesting. I'll have to do a test run of that, but it sounds like something fun for a future stream. So, with just a few minutes left, I guess I could give it a score. I'd give this one a solid 9, right up there with Horrified. Both great games. But before we go, with the last couple minutes left, I'm going to grab the Cryptid game real quick and show everybody what that's all about. Alright, so here is the real truth, presented by the last podcast on the left, Cryptid Podcast. It's advertised as 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. Doesn't give a target completion time, but it is very much a navigate the board, figure out what's going on with the cryptids, and just generally solve mysteries. For this one, we actually have several cryptids available. We have an alien, so traditional Mars Attacks alien. There we go. We got a Sasquatch. We've got, let me see who the others are. I don't remember offhand. We have a regular phantom or ghost or whatever. And we have our investigator. But the figurines don't represent the only cryptids in the game. And instead, you have mysteries to solve in a clue-type manner, where you have to figure out who around the game board is involved with the cryptid. And you actually have several other cryptids that pop up during play, including I think your Mothman 10. I know that the American Monsters version of Horrified has the Mothman. So maybe we'll have to do that one at some point, because Horrified is a great game, and any excuse to play it. And hey, then maybe I can find myself an excuse to get the Greek Monsters one also. But yeah, now that I've decided to take the approach of playing multiplayer, this one I'll have to investigate to see if the mystery component makes it a design that won't lend itself to being played by a single player. But if that's the case, and I am able to play it, then consider it earmarked for a future stream. I don't think it'll be Blair Witchy. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that'll be a question for a different time. But that's going to do it for tonight's stream. And don't forget, Saturday, we will be visiting the land of Equestria and taking a look at the My Little Pony deck builder game. Do a playthrough of that, see what it's all about. And I have no idea what's coming up next Tuesday. We're just gonna wing it. I also have no idea how these things go back in the box. Oh, there we go. But yeah, I have a couple options for Tuesday. We'll take a look and see which of those make the most sense. And oh yeah, 10, I forgot that you weren't here during the G.I. Joe stream, so here you go. You can have a look at what's coming up. So made by the same company, Renegade Games, that makes both the G.I. Joe and Transformers deck builders and the Mission Critical game that I played on Saturday. And they also have a Power Rangers deck builder, but it's multiplayer only. There's no solo mode on it, so don't know if we're going to get to that one at any point. They do have a Power Rangers, like a Champions of the Grid. I don't know if he's pouting. He just has preferences that lean toward anything other than My Little Pony. But yeah, oh, see, I don't have a My Little Pony Monopoly to show off when we do this on Saturday. Oh, but I do have the My Little Pony version of Life, because my kids were big into My Little Pony too. So we'll look at that one. But yeah, that's it for today. So highly recommend the Scooby-Doo game. It's not as expensive as the more involved miniatures games, and I actually got it like 30 or 40% off for Prime Days. So no, before Prime Days, I think. Either way, it's a little cheaper than some of the other ones, and yeah, I would recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and probably even more so if you add a couple other levels of complexity. So definitely one we'll try again later. But until then, let me know if you got any questions about it, or want any additional information, and otherwise I will see you Saturday for some pony goodness. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good week.